Does universalism mean that we can just sin as much as we want? This is an argument I've heard a lot on the internet. You'll find it all the time. And I've even encountered it in my own talk with people about universalism. It's like, well, can't you just sin as much as you want? If universalism is true, if everyone's going to make it, then why live a moral Christian life? And this is not a new argument. In fact, this is actually the primary reason in the past that universalists were heavily persecuted. Back in the early Republic of America and the colonial era, universalists were heavily persecuted. There was a time in America where, in a lot of states, universalists were not allowed to serve on juries because it was assumed that universalists were immoral. And this was like an incredibly common argument. Like, it was probably the number one argument against universalism back in the day. A lot of people just assume that if you don't believe in eternal damnation, then you can just sin as much as you want. But there's a really great story. Now, I don't really like Father Hosea Ballou. He's really out there. He was not a very good universalist minister, but Hosea Ballou's for another time. But there is one really interesting story about Father Hosea Ballou. And that is that Hosea Ballou, he was a circuit rider, like all major universalists were circuit riders. And he was talking with a Baptist circuit rider one time, and the Baptist had just learned that universalists don't believe in eternal hell. And he said, if I was a universalist, I could, beat you up and steal your horse and not have to fear any consequences. And I love what Ballou said. He said, if you were a universalist, the thought would never occur to you. And really, as universalists, the idea of sinning as much as we want, us Christian universalists who truly take this faith seriously, who truly believe it, the idea of just sinning as much as you want is abhorrent. And as I said before, this was such a common argument against universalism back in the day that universalists actually had to put a call to good works in their very creeds. The Winchester Profession is the best example of this. There was so much slander going on against universalists at the time that the Winchester Profession of 1803, which is this foundational and very important document in universalist history, is a three-part document. First part is we believe in the authority of the Bible. Second part is affirming we believe in the Christian God and we believe in universal salvation through that God. And the third part is we believe in good works. And what the third part says is very interesting to me. In the second part of the creed, it affirms that we believe God will restore the whole family of mankind to wholeness and happiness. And what it says in the third part, the good works section, it says that wholeness and true happiness are inseparably connected, which means that the universal salvation we believe in, as universalists, we believe that God will make all things new, all things right eventually. And what the profession is saying is that making all things new, that making all things right that we believe in as universalists is inseparably connected to good Christian living. Like, if you want to be restored, as we believe you'll be restored, you have to make the choice to live a Christian life. You have to be a Christian. And in my own faith journey, this has really helped me. A lot of my own struggles. Like, I realize I'm not just a Christian, I'm also a Christian universalist, and therefore I'm trying to keep this tradition alive. I'm trying to keep that old faith, and of course it's a very old faith. It didn't just start in the 18th century with some guys in England, but I particularly care about keeping the embers of the old Universalist church alive. And at the very heart of the Universalist church is the Winchester Profession, because this is the profession. Like, it was said in every church. You have to affirm this to be a minister in the denomination, and this is every other creed and declaration of Universalist faith that followed is based off this document. And I realize, I even have it as my channel description, and I realize that if I truly believe in the faith of my ancestors, I have to live good works and have a moral standard of living because I affirm the creed. And Universalists, to their credit, did do a lot. As I've said before, Universalists did a lot of good works. They talk about the circuit riders. Universalists were leading abolitionists. They started a bunch of schools. Like a lot of Christian churches, they did a bunch of charity work. Universalists did a lot of good in the name of that. What we believe in the very heart of our faith is in doing good works. And it isn't that good works saves you. It's just that we believe that universal salvation, that universal restoration that we affirm, and good works, Christian living a Christian morality, are inseparably connected. That's the reason the Winchester profession gives, and I really like it. But there's a reason, there is a argument that I came up with, and I'm sure I'm not the only person to come up with it. But I think it's a really solid argument. Pretty much what I realized is that we're Christian Universalists. We claim to follow Christ. We follow the teachings of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Now, of course, we believe him to be the Lord, Savior, God, but we do follow his teachings, and therefore, we follow his teachings. We have to follow the morality that he set for us. Of course, most essential to that morality is love God, love neighbor, but also the particulars of that morality. Everything that Jesus taught, we have to affirm. And also, we have to affirm the New Testament in general, the letters of Paul, because, Christ was speaking to Paul, and we have to affirm the New Testament faith. And so, if we call ourselves Christians, no matter what our stance on hell is, we have to follow what Christ has taught us to do, because we're Christians and we're dedicating ourselves to that way of life. And I just don't buy that universalism means you'll just sin as much as you want, because what I've observed is that there are a lot of people that are in the churches for cultural reasons or family reasons or whatever, self-serving reasons, and they don't really believe in the faith. And that's true in Calvinist churches. You have people say, well, I'm chosen elect by God, so I don't really need to worry. Or if I'm damned, well, there's no change in that. You have people in a lot of evangelical circles that say, I said a prayer. If I fall away, I can just say it again. Or they'll even say, I'm once saved, always saved. And you do have people that are universalists in their theology, and they'll just say, all people are covered. Let's just sin as much as we want. But you'll also find people that are Calvinists that are very sincere about living a Christian life. You'll find people that believe in the whole, who believe very sincerely in born again experiences, who live a good Christian life. And you'll find plenty of Universalists who believe in universal salvation and also believe in living a good Christian life. And not to pass judgment, because I have plenty of problems myself, but I think it's just sad more than anything that there are so many Christians out there that they'll say, if there was not an eternal hell below my feet, and universalists do believe in a hell or a purgatory, whatever you want to call it, afterlife punishment, but if there was not an eternal hell below my feet, I would be a wreck. I would not be on the straight and narrow. I would just sin and do as much as we want. It reminds me of that Baptist circuit rider. He says, if there was no hell, I could just beat you up and steal everything from you. And I love what Ballou said. If you were a universalist, the thought wouldn't even occur to you. And I think if you're a Christian, the thought wouldn't even occur to you. If you're truly a believer in Christ, the thought of living a sinful life and doing as much sin as you want would not occur to you. And I just think it's sad is all that so many Christians, the only reason they feel like they're living a good Christian life is because of hell. And I think this is very scary. I don't know. I think it bears a very bad testimony to the world. Not to pass judgment. Keep in mind, there are many wonderful Christians that believe in eternal damnation, and many of them are much better Christians than me. But it's just sad, all I have to say. One other thing, a lot of people are like, well, you believe in hell junior or something. So there's just no way that the universalist understanding of hell, which is a temporal hell, and I've made multiple videos on the channel. Many other universalists have made videos justifying why we take that stance. We can provide biblical reasoning for that, but that's a conversation for another video. They'll say, well, if you're eventually going to get out, why not just sin? Or why is it such a big deal? And I'll ask you this. Most crimes do not have a life sentence or death sentence. Most crimes, you'll eventually get out of prison. But why don't you commit them? Because nobody wants to go to prison. Prison, no, I don't want to go, and I assume that you don't want to go either. And that's for the same reason. We don't want to go to hell, which is far worse than prison could ever be. And you don't want to go there either. Even if you eventually get out, it's an awful place. And why not just the reward? I'm reminded of the parable of the prodigal son. The reward that we have as Christians is that we are with the Father the whole time. We're with Christ the whole time. We've always been with him, and we didn't have to go through hell on this earth and through hell in the next life, because we were with him. And I think that's all the reason to be a good Christian and not sin as much as you want. And said before, it doesn't really matter what your beliefs on hell or salvation are, because there are always going to be people in the church that abuse that belief to serve their own self-serving human nature. And there's always going to be people, no matter what denomination they are, no matter what sect they are, that are going to live the Christian call to live a good Christian life. So yeah, universalism does not mean you can sin as much as you want. And anybody who claims to be a universalist and is just sinning as much as they want is probably not a Christian. So yeah, y'all have a good day. God bless. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and Christ will conquer.